live in a world ruled by tyranny, where knowledge is suppressed and ignorance is glorified. A world where propaganda and misinformation travel the airways at the speed of lies. But in the midst of the violence and chaos, a great awakening is taking place. And as the media empires continue to collapse, a new network is forming. A network of truth. A network of courage. A network of awareness. Peace and greetings. You are now tuned into the Network of Awareness podcast radio station, where we examine current events, politics, health, finance, and topics of cultural relevance in America and throughout the world, while bringing you insightful interviews with guests that will both educate and inspire you. And now, your host of the Network of Awareness podcast radio station, Aura the Informationalist.
Yes, peace and greetings, people. This is Aura the Informationalist, and you're now tuned into a live broadcast of the Network of Awareness. Grand rising to all the people that get to tune in, and those that don't get to download the show, leave a review if you can. And happy Sabbath to those who celebrate. And on this Saturday, Sabbath day, I'm going to present some information in regards to today's episode, which is episode 34. Agenda DePop won't stop. And I'm broadcasting to YouTube and Twitter. So since I'm broadcasting to these networks, so to speak, you know, we're going to have to use certain vernacular, and you know how it goes when talking about these types of subjects. But I'm gonna do the best that I can, and hopefully we won't get flagged or suspended. But as you know, I do this for the Most High, and I'm not gonna stop, because as long as the powers that shouldn't be are not gonna stop, the children of the Most High shouldn't stop either. So we're gonna bring some truth out about how this agenda is not stopping. No matter how much truth is exposed, no matter what is brought out into the light, they are on a mission for decommission. They're on a mission for DePop. And we're going to shed some light on that, on some of the new things that are being brought into the fold when it comes to countries like Australia, which is, my podcast is actually banned in Australia. And with some of the information I'm going to provide today, I'm going to pretty much prove why a platform like mine is banned. But I'm also going to just share some information in regards to manipulation and when it comes to social conditioning, and why it's so important to put this agenda forth in order to bring about other things that they want to do, which is the powers that shouldn't be, in order to bring about this one world order beast system. And there has to be certain things in place for them to do that. But no worries, because all things are possible through the grace of the Most High. And as you will see in the description box, is that this agenda is not going to stop until the Most High comes back with furious vengeance to bring down this beast. You know, some call him Satan, Lucifer, whatever you may call him, but it does exist. And we have to continue to bring this information out no matter what happens. So welcome again to the Network of Awareness, people. So let me take this headphones off real quick. Shout outs to everybody that follows the Network of Awareness from TikTok, Instagram, on Spreaker, Apple, Spotify, Bullhorn, and all the other podcasting platforms. Shout outs to the people on Twitter. I'm going to start, seeing how it works out with Twitter. Just because supposedly Elon Musk is giving more freedom on Twitter. So we're going to see if that's really true based on some of the things I'm going to be posting on Twitter to see if the algorithms are actually going to support that from it reaching a lot of people, because a lot of times it doesn't. But we'll see what happens now. Supposedly, Elon Musk is giving more leeway for what people can say on Twitter. So with that being said, this is not going to be a long episode, but I hope that it's one that's impactful and edifying as well. So what I want to do is I want to just share some information in regards to this agenda for DePop. Now, one of the first things that I'm going to do is I want to share a video that I received on TikTok. And let me pull it up real quick because I want to share it with you guys. And we're going to do this real quick so that way you can see what I'm talking about. Now, this footage was taken from Australia. And this is what Australia is looking to do in the I'm going to say somewhat near future, because as you're going to hear, they want to conduct some test trials to help us all out and to help out the people of Australia and then eventually help people around the world. Now, for those that don't know, I did an episode called Triple Demic, and that episode, for some reason was flagged. It wasn't specified from YouTube on why it was flagged and why I was suspended, but I don't even care to appeal, because anytime I appeal, it's never, it's never met. Like, there's nothing I've ever appealed through YouTube that actually has been restored. So it is what it is. So I want to share this real quick, and then I'm going to play it. So let's take a quick listen, shall we? And just give me 1 second, people, while I pull up the page here. All right, here we go.
Australia is putting a world-first vaccine to the test. Human trials getting underway for a 3-in-1 jab to protect against common and deadly respiratory illnesses. The super shot could save time and money, as well as pressure on our health system.
Combating a triple threat with one single jab.
You could go to the doctor and get one vaccine that essentially covers you for influenza, COVID and RSV, as opposed to going back several times in that same year. That would be helpful.
And it could be closer than we think. The University of the Sunshine Coast starting clinical trials of a new Moderna vaccine.
So the aim of this trial really is to see whether a combination vaccine that includes all three would be as tolerable as giving someone each vaccine separately.
COVID, RSV and influenza, a triple-barrel shot posing a major shake-up to Australia's annual vaccine rollout while helping to ease the burden on an overloaded system.
One visit, one vaccination, possibly a booster, as opposed to potentially 3 visits, 3 boosters, and I just think that will take a big load off our current health system.
It can take several years to collate enough data before the vaccine can be rolled out safely. Researchers here are now looking to expand their pool of participants and are calling for more volunteers.
We're looking.
Australia is putting a world...
Okay, so I'm going to stop it right there. I just want to bring it back here because when I did that show Triple Demic, this is their, this is what Australia is trying to bring a solution to. So I want to kind of show you what that looks like according to them. And here we go. So as you know, when I did that show called Triple Demic, the triple demic, according to the powers that shouldn't be, is the GACA-19, is your respiratory syncytial virus, right? As you see here posted in the middle. And then, of course, influenza. Now, a little bit later in the broadcast, I'm actually going to show you statistical numbers of influenza cases that were actually posted in the end of 2020 and then in 2021. Okay. And then how all of a sudden in 2022, all of a sudden influenza spiked up. We're going to get into that a little bit later. But this right here is what they want to give people in order to eliminate time for people to come in. And as the lady mentioned, to get their shots individually so they can get it all in one. And they want people to volunteer and they want to take test trials. Now, what's interesting is that now all of a sudden they're saying it's going to take several years, where initially it didn't take several years for the other thing to come out, or for the other needle to come out. It didn't take several years at all, right? It came out pretty quickly. But now countries like Australia are saying we want to take several years. Now, for those that don't know, the actual protocol with any type of inoculation / vaccination that comes out, especially when it has to be approved for the FDA, it usually takes about 7 to 10 years. I think the fastest one came out within just past the 7-year period. But normally the overall general process that's been the process for decades for a vaccination to come out has been a 10-year period. And that is a fact. But obviously there was different circumstances on why what came out in 2020 to 21, why it was such a so-called sense of urgency. So they want to give you prevention, right? Because there's no guarantee, according to them, based on what they're saying, but they want to give you prevention for this and for this, which is the respiratory, influenza, and for COVID, right? Now, one of the reasons why the triple-demic was pushed down, was pushed upon people so hard is because they had a major concern about these three things basically affecting many children, especially, right? Because a lot of children are being diagnosed with respiratory problems in the United States and apparently in other countries like Australia, like South America. In the continent of South America, it's a problem. It's a problem in Australia. It's a problem in the UK and in Europe. It's a problem in Africa. It's a problem pretty much everywhere, according to the powers that shouldn't be. But some of us may know I think it's important that people know what is good for their immune system and that we have a choice, because all of this, I'm putting this out here just because I am going live. I'm putting this out here for educational purposes. So I'm going to be very cautious in how I present this information. So I want to make it very clear that this is for educational purposes only. But I think we have to be very well aware that to take something like this, where it's 3 different types of medication in one single shot, is something that we need to be very cautious about. So I think it's a good thing that Australia decided to take several years of testing and examination and, wanting to test this out. I think that's a good thing. I think they should have did that from the jump when this thing first presented itself in 2020. But apparently we all know that didn't happen. Now, what also we need to keep in mind is that they need people to volunteer in these test trials. And whenever you're doing a test trial for some type of vaccination, there has to be thousands upon thousands of participants in order to get an accurate understanding if this thing is meant to be put out in the public and if it truly works. So it's going to be interesting to see within the next months to come how much participation they are going to get. And what's going to be even more interesting is the level of incentive that's going to be provided for those test trial people. Because whenever you volunteer for a test trial, there has to be some incentive. Most of the time when these types of test trials are done, there is some type of compensation or some type of reward. So I would be more interested in finding out what type of incentive and compensation will people get for putting their bodies on the line to test something that has yet been approved, to see if it can even be approved to be used medically within the masses and within the public. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back here and I want to read to you something that was shared with me. And I'm going to present it on the screen here real quick. So give me 1 second because I'm going to post something else. And I'm going to stop sharing that screen. And I'm about to share a slide with you. And it's actually an article. And let me see if I could pull it up here, because sometimes it's difficult for me to get certain displays up, but we're going to try our best to make it happen here. So let me get this preview up here and hopefully we can share it. So let me bring it in close here and let's see here. Okay, cool. We got it up here. All right. So let's share that. Perfect. Okay. Wonderful. Well, let me see if I can read it here. And for all of you to see here. Beautiful. And let's bring it out a little bit. Okay. So I hope that everybody can actually see that on the page here. So let's read this real quick. Okay. So this is Beware of the Useful Idiots. This was submitted by Garrett Gear. And this is a very old article, but I think we should just read it to see what Garrett Gear had wrote about Beware of the Useful Idiots. Now, as you all know, there's nothing new under the sun, but understand that there's always some form of an agenda. Now, what I'm going to read here, I want people to pay close attention because it's going to cover all aspects of society and how society does get conditioned socially and mentally, because it's already been proven that that through auto-suggestion, you can really change the way people perceive their reality, especially if you keep giving them the same thing over and over again. And as we all know that a lie can become the truth or can be perceived as the truth if that's all that's given on a repetitive basis. So I can lie to you over and over again, and after a while, you're going to believe the lie, no matter what. So let's talk about that real quick. So this is called Beware of the Useful Idiots. It says, recall that Hillary did her college thesis on his writings, and Obama writes about him in his books. And the person we're talking about is Saul Alinsky. So Saul Alinsky died about 43 years ago. But his writings influenced those in the political control of our nation in today. Now, Saul died on June 12th, 1972. And it says in Carmel by the Sea in California. And his education is that he, I guess, graduated from the University of Chicago. He has a spouse by the name of Irene Alinsky, and he has books. See, some of the books are called Rules for Radicals, reveal for radicals or revile for radicals. Anyone out there think that this stuff isn't happening today in the U.S.? And that is a question that I ask you. Does anybody think that what I'm about to read right now is not happening in the U.S.? And I would love to hear some of the comments in the comments section, or for those that are actually going to be listening to this on the podcast, you can leave the comments in my chat room on Spreaker, or you can just leave a comment within a review of this particular episode, which is, by the way, episode 34 of season 5. So it says so once again, I'm going to ask the question again because I want to make sure I stay on course here. Anyone out there think that this stuff isn't happening today in the U.S.? It says all 8 rules are currently in play, according to Garrett Gear. It says how to create a social state by Saul Alinsky. It says, here are 8 levels of control that must be obtained before you're able to create a social state. The first is the most important, which is number 1, healthcare. Healthcare. Control healthcare and you control the people. Hey, does that sound familiar? Number 2, and once again, for educational purposes, this is according to a journal article by a writer by the name of Garrett Gear. And this is also based on books from Saul Alinsky himself that was publishing these books in the 1940s, 50s, and 60s. All right. And he died in 1972. So the first one is healthcare. Second one is poverty. Now, poverty, increase the poverty level as high as possible. Poor people are easier to control and will not fight back if you are providing everything for them to live. Now, as many of you know, there are talks about this supposed alleged Great Reset. And I say alleged because we don't know if that's true or not. And this alleged Great Reset is going to put people in a great state of poverty to supposedly control all aspects of their life. And they will only be able to have a certain amount of money, and will be digital currency, and it will all be regulated and controlled. And you will be subjected to having your attitude towards the state constantly being evaluated, just like it's evaluated present day in China. Number 3, debt. Increase the debt to an unsustainable level. Interesting, because isn't this country right now almost, I'm going to say almost because I can't say for a fact, that we are in an unsustainable level of debt. Supposedly we are trillions and trillions of dollars in debt right now, currently under the current administration. But even before that, right? Because all the administrations are the same. It says and now I can't take this plus symbol out, unfortunately, but it says you are able to increase taxes and this will reduce more poverty. Or no, this will produce more poverty by increasing taxes. Then you also have number 4. Now, number 4 is gun control. So it says remove the ability to defend themselves from the government. That way you are able to create a police state. Now, in my personal opinion, I can't say this is a fact, but coming from being born and raised in the state of New York, primarily in New York City, most of my life, my adult life, and childhood as well, and then moving upstate, from my perception, I always thought that from what I've experienced in New York, and set aside from just racism alone, but what I experienced in New York was very much a police state, especially when Mayor Rudolph Giuliani took over as being mayor of New York City. And a lot of my people that are in my age group that are in their mid to late 40s or early 40s or early 50s, we are well aware what type of city New York looked like when Rudolph Giuliani took office. So let's go to number 4. Gun control. Remove the ability to defend themselves from the government. That way you are able to create a police state. I'm going to repeat that again. Remove the ability to defend themselves. Well, what are we seeing right now? Are we not seeing a really big push by politicians in the United States to take away guns little by little? And then they have these, what are called allegedly PSYOPs, propaganda agendas to basically create or incite some type of hostile incident that was some type of mass shooting, whether it be in a college, whether it be in a daycare or at a elementary school, middle school, high school, or at a Waffle House, wherever it is. Every time these incidents happen, the conversation for more gun control and to take away people's liberty to even defend themselves is always the hot topic. And it hasn't stopped actually for the past 20 years. Now, number 5, this one is very interesting. Welfare. Take control of every aspect of their lives, food, housing, and income. Is that something that we're currently seeing today, brothers and sisters? Are we seeing through inflation, that housing is becoming almost impossible to have for people that are on poverty level? And right now, poverty level is considered anybody that's making $20 an hour or less. That is legitimately the poverty level here in the U.S. Now it says take control of every aspect of their lives, food, housing, and income. Now we know that income is drastically being affected. It's already been proven on multiple platforms throughout the world that the food is very well contaminated with genetically modified organisms. People are having to cleanse themselves, if they're responsible human beings, pretty much every month, like I do. I have to cleanse myself every month just because no telling what I'm eating, no matter how much I try to eat something that's I eat considered healthy. Still have to take my parasite pills that I take. I still take stomach lining pills to make sure that my stomach lining is constantly being replenished and repaired due to leaky gut. Also, detoxing my colon so that way I'm not bloated and I take away all the parasitic toxic chemicals that are in my body and metals and things of that nature. But also the housing. If you've noticed that real estate just in the last several years has drastically been inflated to where a 1-bedroom apartment, and let's not even talk about New York City because New York City realty has always been a nightmare. But in places like even here where I live in Florida or even in the South, places that used to be somewhat affordable that went from anywhere from $600 to $800 a month are now averaging anywhere from $1,000 to $1,400 a month. So housing is becoming a challenge for a lot of people these days. So number 5, welfare. And I ask again, is this something that's currently happening in the U.S. today? It's just a question. Number 6, education. Take control of what people read and listen to. Take control of what children learn in school. Now, I know that this is a hot topic because what's one of the big discussions right now being held in the schools is what the children are learning. And the children are being taught a lot of perversion. Okay? Perversion. There are books that are currently being published that is sexual in nature at a very high degree, where it talks about, fellatio. It talks about oral sex, talks about sodomy, and it talks about it in a way where it educates the children in a manner in which they make it sound like it's okay. Like these things are normal. Okay. And they're also educating people about pedophilia and how pedophilia is becoming more normalized these days, isn't it? I mean, now we have an actual legitimate term that has been classified within the medical boards, within the psychology and psychiatry industry as minor attracted people. And what is a minor attracted person? Is basically an adult that has sexual feelings and romantic feelings for a child. And that is perfectly fine. That it's not really a sickness. It's more just an emotional state of being that anybody would have. Just like me being a heterosexual man, which I'm now classified as a cisgender man. But I like to stick with the old term as being a heterosexual man, meaning that I am attracted to the opposite sex being a woman, and only that. But in the education system, you're seeing this transformation of perversion becoming the norm and perversion becoming acceptable. Instead of being a mental illness, it's now being considered as something that's completely normal and that there's nothing wrong with it. Number 7, religion. This one is a hot topic as well because a lot of people think that the religions are being attacked. And yes, they are. But keep in mind, being a child of Israel like I am, and being a man that gives all praise to the Most High and to Yah, to the Messiah, to Christ, I don't believe in religion because through what I've studied and through what I've learned and through what I've been counseled in and ultimately what the Most High has filled my spirit up is the understanding that this is a way of life. You know, when you give praise to the Most High and when you follow the word and his commandments and laws, it is a way of life. It's never been a religion. I don't rely on religion. I don't rely on the Most High. I am an expression of his light. And I take that very seriously each and every day. And as the older I get, the more I learn. And even though I continue to sin like anybody else, I try to limit my sinning to a very small sin unless it's to something really huge or something big. And through repentance, once you get better at it, living a righteous lifestyle is no different than an athlete working out to get strong and having muscle memory and doing repetitive behavior to where practice makes perfect, right? And all we can do is practice in giving praise and living a righteous life according to the laws and the commandments. And the more we practice that, the more we can strive to that perfection, right? Whether it's reached or not, it doesn't matter. The actual pursuit of it is what gives you the strength through the Most High and through Christ, through that level of understanding, that righteous way of living. That to the nucleus of it, it is very simple. To the very core of it, it is simple, very simple. We make it complex. Now, going to number 7, religion. It says, remove the belief in the God from the government and schools. I think that they've done that for a long time now. I think in order to have a relationship with the Most High, you're not going to find that in any school, not even in your Catholic schools or your private schools that supposedly teach this type of doctrine. The best way to have a relationship with the Most High is not only to congregate with like-spirited people that are in that search of truth, but really to listen to that higher self that's within you, that guides you. And I think a lot of us, because of the ego, we're not really connecting to the higher self. And a lot of it is because it's not being practiced in our everyday lives when we're children, like our schools, and our governments are definitely not promoting it. Now, let's go to number 8, which is the last one. Class warfare. Does this sound familiar, people? And I asked the question, I posed the question, is this something that you believe is happening present day? It says, divide the people into the wealthy and the poor. This will cause more discontent, and it will be easier to take tax the wealthy with the support of the poor. I ask again, does this sound familiar? Now, remember the title of this article is called Beware the Useful Idiots. It goes on to say within this article, it says, does any of this sound like what is happening to the United States? And that's a question I ask anybody. Does this sound like this is happening in the United States present day? I leave it for you to give the answer, because all I'm doing is posing the question here. And the only reason I'm posing the question without the answer is because I'm on the virtual government platforms right now, broadcasting to you live. And also these episodes will be released on the podcast. And that is the only reason why I'm doing it, people. The only reason. All right. Now, it says that Alinsky merely simplified Vladimir Lenin's original scheme for world conquest by communism under Russian rule. Stalin described his converts as useful idiots. Remember, nothing new under the sun, right? It says the useful idiots have destroyed every nation in which they have seized power and control. It is present, and unfortunately, I can't read that. It says it is present and an alarming rate within the U.S. It is also from the chains that they revere. I can't read the bottom of it because we got this logo here in the bottom. But some of you can, if I can pull up the original article, I'll take a look at it. But like I said, this was sent to me on TikTok. So the TikTok brand watermark is on here. But it says, is it different to the fools from the chains that they revere? So I asked that question to you people. Are we useful idiots? Do you look at each other, especially to my brothers and sisters in Western civilization? Do you look at yourself or as others as useful idiots? I asked that question to y'all because I have my perceptions, but I'm not sharing that on this particular broadcast because I think I've shared it so many times. If you follow the network of awareness in our over 450 plus shows, I think I've answered these questions more times than one. But let's go back to the original screen here. That's the question I asked to you folks. Now, what I'm going to do here is I'm also going to pull up, and just give me 1 second here as I stop this screen. I'm also going to pull up here a quick video. And this is another, person that's the same person that sent me something on TikTok. And shout out to everybody on TikTok, man. I think TikTok, in my personal opinion, is the best platform for me for now, as far as what I post on social media. It's not the best platform for my podcast, obviously, because I can't do a live without being cut off. I have to curb my vernacular in there as well. But for now, I'm looking into possibly Rumble. I already have an account on BitChute. But what I am going to start doing, people, in the very near future is any episode, like a lot of my, very authentic, let's go into the meat and potatoes episode where I don't have to worry about being censored or being shadow banned. Those episodes are going to strictly be directly through my website, which is networkofawareness.com. And what I'm realizing is that I have to do it that way. Now, what I will do is I'll use platforms like Telegram and Rumble and BitChute to advertise that, to give you snippets of it, maybe give you portions of it, possibly the whole episode. But a lot of my episodes are only going to be available through my website, because that's the only way I can give you my true authentic self and provide a vast amount of information that is helpful. So for those that are willing to listen and want to get that information, I will be promoting it on my website in the very near future. Now, moving along, I want to go to this next video here. And I want you to listen to this very quickly. And shout outs to Mel Muffy 6. She has great information. Great information. All right. And look, you know, with such great information, she only has 1,171 followers and about 5,608 likes. And I can tell you that I'm just hitting over 2,000 and I have close to 20,000 likes. So that's why I think that TikTok, as far as the platforms that have supported my content, has been the best one, because I rarely get flagged. I think I've only been flagged since I've been on TikTok twice, and I had to pull down the video, and I did. And I actually appealed a couple of videos, and you know what? My appeal was granted, and it was restored, my videos. So it was pretty cool. Can I say that that's happened with me with YouTube? Absolutely not. Has that happened with other platforms? Yeah, it has, here and there. But in actuality, even like me being on Twitter right now, I think what happens with Twitter is that they don't even flag me. I think what they do is just they set up the algorithms that only a limited amount of people can see it. So I think that a lot of people are getting to view it, but it's actually quite the opposite, right? Because that's what shadow banning is all about. So let's go to this video real quick here. And let me pull it up. And then I'm going to share it.
From Sky's
So let me pull that back. I'm going to put my headphones on so I can hear it. And then I am going to share it with you, brothers and sisters, you wonderful brothers and sisters of the Most High. All right. So let's get back to the screen here. And we're going to take a look at this. And looks like we have a comment. Oh, hey, shalom, brother Ash Stewart. I didn't even know you was here. Yes, Most High Christ bless you as well, brother. And happy Sabbath to you. Absolutely. You see, on my thing right here is actually showing that nobody's viewing. So it's nice to see that, you know, we got some people actually watching this live. So let's go here to the share screen, and then we're going to pull up that window that I was sharing here. Let's do that real quick. All right. Bam. There we go. So let's take a listen to this particular broadcast here and see what they're talking about.
From Sky's Rob Powell, who is in Downing Street this morning. What's this all about, Rob?
So this is about how Public Health England calculates who has died from coronavirus and who gets added, whose deaths get added on to that tally that we've grown used to seeing day by day, that currently stands at around 45,000. Now, the issue is that the way it's being counted at the moment means that if you are diagnosed, you test positive for coronavirus, even if you go into hospital, but then you recover and you come out, and then 2 months later, say, or a period of time later, you then die of something completely unrelated to coronavirus, your death will still be added to that coronavirus death tally. So the example that was given to me by a government source was basically if you had tested positive in February for coronavirus, you'd recovered, you'd been fine for the last few months, but then you'd been hit by a lorry or hit by a bus yesterday and died, your death would still be added on to that coronavirus tally, even though clearly, even though you may have had it, clearly your death is nothing to do with coronavirus at all. So essentially what this means is that that tally that we've been used to getting from the government every day when they are updating us on death figures is likely to be out, is likely to be too high, which means that that 45,000 figure that we are currently looking at in terms of deaths from coronavirus is likely to be wrong. Now, this doesn't affect when you're looking at excess deaths, a different way of counting deaths, and this doesn't affect the data that we get from the ONS. There's a couple of different sources of data for coronavirus deaths. The ONS figures are likely to still be accurate, but in terms of the actual count that Public Health England and the government rely on, well, that now looks to be inflated. So this urgent review has been ordered by the Health Secretary to basically try and sort out this issue and to try and establish actually by how much they have been overcounting their deaths. hugely embarrassing for the government, especially after some of the ordeals that we've seen in terms of counting test data. It now seems that arguably the most crucial figure in this whole coronavirus pandemic, how many people have actually died from the virus, the government's own.
From Sky's Rob Powell.
Okay, and that is that, folks. So now, according to Mel, she says it's January 2021. If they think that it's edited, they should try to debunk it by finding a news clip online. So as you can see here, like this whole thing for, why Agenda DePop won't stop is because this is a situation where, oh, no audio, cannot hear me. Very interesting. I wonder why. And this is just another example. Let me test out my audio real quick here. Interesting how my audio can't be heard. Now, it looks here like my audio is just fine. So I don't know why my audio cannot be heard. But thank you for letting me know. What I'm actually going to do right now is let me go to my Twitter page real quick, people, and see why my live is not being audibly heard. And if I can hear it on my end, brother, then I'm going to assume it's something on your end. But then again, like I said, people, ever since 2021, I would say March of 2021, no, not even actually March of not March. Oh, my audio's fine. Okay, great. You're making me do extra work over here, brother. But I wouldn't be surprised because let me tell you something. When there's technical difficulties, I mean, I'm literally banned in Australia, and it's very upsetting because I put a lot of work into this. I spend a lot of money in my studio and things that I put forth and put out there. This is not easy work here. It's not like you just plug in something and you just start talking. There's a lot of things that go into this. It's one of the reasons why I'm moving towards subscription base, not just so that I don't get shadow banned, but that it can support what I'm doing at a greater level to serve the Most High. It's not going to make me a millionaire. It's not going to make me rich, but it's going to be able to make this sustainable so that I can keep doing it, without going broke, investing in something that I'm putting a lot of work in. So yeah, brother, I actually have a lot of listeners in the UK. The UK, for those that are listening in the UK, that download the show, the UK behind Canada is the third highest grossing download show that what am I talking about? Place that actually downloads my show. So shout outs to everybody in the UK. Truly appreciate you, brothers and sisters out there. But going back to what I was saying about, how this whole shadow banning thing works. It's been happening since the end of 2020, going into 2021 is when it really got back in March of 2021 is when I really got hit hard, and it hasn't stopped ever since. Especially anything where I talk about, even me doing this live broadcast, believe it or not, we're going to see what happens with YouTube. We're going to see, because this is going out to YouTube and this is on Twitter right now, currently. So it's going to be very interesting to see what YouTube has to say about this once it's finished broadcasting. Because they had me on a 7-day suspension not too long ago. Currently, TikTok has me on a 7-day suspension for going live. And I think I'm good on Instagram. I was doing an Instagram post live just the other day, so it wasn't an issue. So it is what it is. But even when people log in, let's say, for example, if people log into my show, right? Like what I'm doing right now live. Let's say there's 15 people watching. It's only going to show one person, right? Just like it's showing right now. It's showing only one person. But then I'll literally have 10 people tell me and call me up and say, oh, yeah, I like the show. I was watching it on YouTube off my phone when I was at work. And I'm like, oh, okay. Because it only said one person was watching. But they do that just for those that know, if anybody's, somebody that's interested in being a messenger of truth for the Most High, is that this is what you have to expect. You cannot let it get you down. All right. You cannot let it, because that's the whole point of it. If they shadow ban you, the whole point is to get you discouraged. That's why they do it. They want to get you discouraged from not being able to want to do what you're passionate about or bringing out this truth. So that way less people know. And believe it or not, I know a couple of people who had some great content on social media, on podcasts, and because they weren't getting a sufficient amount of downloads like they thought they would, they quit. That's why when I coach people about podcasting, I tell them, listen, do this for a purpose and do it because you love it. Because if you try to do it for money, you're going to be heavily disappointed. Not that you can't make money, because I do earn an income. I would like it to be higher, and through the grace of the Most High, that will happen when it's meant to happen. But there's a lot of people who make money from podcasting. But if you notice here in the United States, a lot of people that make money from podcasting are people that are talking about some of the dumbest stuff you could possibly think of. That's what they love. They love dumbing down. Anything that dumbs you down, anything that's going to like fry your brain cells, that's the stuff that gets millions and millions of views. For the exception of the brothers and sisters that truly have educational platforms, whether it's teaching people how to cut hair, showing people how to buy property and stuff like that. That stuff is legitimate. Can't knock it. It's great content. But anything that's based on some truth that goes against this agenda, against this beast system, you in for a heavy battle. It's no different than when you're in a relationship with a narcissist. It's like you got to be very careful on how you move and what you say and how you conduct yourself. And as you know, for anybody that's followed my narcissism series episodes, what's the best thing you could do with a narcissist? Is leave them the hell alone, right? And I just broke that down yesterday about being aware. For those that don't know, I have an episode that came out yesterday called "Beware of the Low Nature Woman." And that episode was also released on YouTube as well, because the Most High has very much instructed us on to being aware of toxic women as well as toxic men, right? But I focused on the women because women are hyperly sexualized these days. So it's becoming a big problem where men's lust for women is at a level right now that is pretty much astronomical, in my opinion. But back to the topic at hand, because like I said, this is not going to be a long episode, is that I want to really just inform people that this agenda for DePop is not going to stop people. A lot of people are saying, America's going to come together and the world is going to come together and we're going to figure this out. And if we keep exposing them, it's going to bring down this house of cards, so to speak. But it's not. The only entity that can stop this beast system from coming into full fruition, to coming into its full world dominant structured platform, being that one currency, one healthcare, and one society under this one world order beast system, whether it be through the Great Reset or whatever, or the Antichrist coming to dominate. The only thing that can stop that is the Most High. Through Christ, through the Messiah, right? Through the Messiah coming back, through the angels coming back. And people think this is like some imaginary fantasy talk. But the scriptures don't lie. And I think what's happening too with people who are seeing things with their spiritual eye are starting to see the manifestations of how things are coming together when it comes to the supernatural. We're seeing beasts in the oceans that we've never seen before. We're seeing beasts in the mountains that we've never seen before. We're seeing giants now. We're actually seeing them alive. We're not even just seeing their bones, right? That have been hidden by the Vatican and the Smithsonian museums and all of that stuff. But we are seeing the book of Revelations, amongst the other books, right? But we're specifically seeing the book of Revelations coming into reality, present day, every day, right? Every day. We just had an incident here in the United States where all the airports were shut down temporarily for a whole day. But yet there's footage. I didn't take any of myself, but I did see it. There's footage of different types of jets and airplanes flying in the sky with their jet streams of chemtrails and amongst other things. But best believe that a lot of things were happening the other day when the airports were closed and what was being flown in at that time. And if you remember, and I'm going to be very cautious in how I present this right now, but if you remember, this is very indicative to what happened back in 9/11, right? The day before, which is actually September 10th. And actually the week that led up to the 11th. So from like the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, there was a lot of things going on in the air. There was a lot of things going on in the 10th, and there was a lot of things going on in the 11th, right? When they had those mock warfare scenarios that they were performing practices on, right? So here we are again when it comes to our air bases and our commercial flights being canceled for some, technical errors and technical difficulties that needed to be sorted out, and took a whole entire couple of days for it to be sorted out. So we're just in those days and times. That's why I always suggest and impress upon my brothers and sisters that your faith is a superpower. If you do not realize that right now, you need to start realizing that your faith is a superpower. And your faith at this point, depending on how much of a relationship you have with the word, with the Most High, your faith shouldn't even be a faith at this point. Your faith should just be a knowing. See, I know the Most High exists. I know that the Messiah exists. I know that there are such things as angels. I know that there is a spiritual war. I know that many of my brothers and sisters had to sacrifice their life in order for me to have what I have. I know that this spiritual warfare is real. So it's beyond faith, but the faith will be tested, as many of us have had our faith tested more times over than one, right? And it's because it's just a process that we have to go through, because it's not easy. And nobody said it was going to be easy. And there's not one story within scriptures that is an easy story to listen to. There's nobody that hasn't had to go through some major trials and tribulations to get to where they came to, or to get their blessings from the Most High, or gain that favor from the Most High while they were alive and when they ascended. And it's no different today, people. So with that being said, I hope that this episode, this is episode 34. Agenda for DePop won't stop. I hope that it brought great substance to you brothers and sisters, because it's one of those things where, we only have a short amount of time left. How much time that is, I don't know. That could be another 100 years of this. That could be another 50 years. But what I do know is that there's an agenda for the year 2030. So within this next 7-year or less period that we're in, we're going to see a lot of things that are going to happen. A lot of things are going to be drastic in the way they are presented in this country. So whether it's this agenda to make perversion legal, whether it's an agenda for the healthcare system to implement certain things that are considered tyrannical, whether it's food becoming unsustainable to eat, the list goes on and on, right? We could be here all day talking about all the different types of calamities that are about to come. But just remember that faith is our test. So always have that faith in the Most High over the fear of Satan. And like I always say, the only power that Satan has is the power that we allow him to have through our fears. Because once we have fear, we lose that light. We lose the power that the Most High has blessed us with as his children, as the expressions of his light. So remember, faith over fear. And like I always say, brothers and sisters, let me get this this theme music up in here and going and stuff. We're gonna play this. We're gonna exit out with this. But like I always say, when you live in the present, there is always an opportunity for a new beginning. And don't look for the light at the end of the tunnel. Don't, because you're going to be wasting your time, people. Why? Because the light is and always will be within you. So light up the tunnel and find your way through the darkness. This is all the information that's signing out on the Network of Awareness, saying peace, love, and light, and all praises to the Most High, in Christ, in Yah Elohim, baby. All right? That which is and always will be. All right, brothers and sisters, shalom.